Hey everybody, this is Larry. This is day 18 of the Leetcode Daily Challenge. Hit the like button, the subscribe button. Join me on Discord. Let me know what you think about today's last hard workout of the training season. Very excited. I just finished my last workout. So everything is easy until the race. So yeah, I'll talk about, during the regular part I'll talk about what that means. But for now, let's get back to the future Larry or whatever. Yeah, hope you like the intro. 10 days to the marathon. Working on day 18 here on the Leetcode Daily Challenge. I think I've said this before, right? Like, whether it is Leetcode or your marathon or whatever it is your goal is, the training, the effort you put in is your body of work. The actual race, the rating, whatever, is just like a snapshot in time about who you are, but it's not who you are, right? I was talking to a friend and today with respect to the marathon, and I am going for the sub 4, which is okay. Like, I've been training for it. I hope I get it. But like if I do 4:02 or something, I don't know, like 4 hours and 2 minutes, will I be upset? I'll be a little bit disappointed, not gonna lie, but it doesn't change who I think I am, right? Like, who I am does not change whether I did in 4 hours or 4 hours 2 minutes or 3 hours and 59 minutes, right? It's 3 minutes. Who I am is someone who spent the last 18 weeks doing 50 to 60 hours a week on the road, So yeah, and it's the same thing with Leetcode and Code Force and all these other things, right? Like, does it matter whether you're 2000 in rating or 1999 in rating, right? I don't know. I mean, the number is obviously a little bit nice, but it's the number of hours you put in and all the hard work, not just the easy work that you put in, that matters, right? It's not the number of easy problems you solve, it's the number of hard problems, and some part of it is effort, right? It has to be tuned. Effort is not going to be the same for everybody. For some people, when they're early on, the easy problems are going to be hard. They'll get easier over time, and that's okay. But if I was doing just easy problems, I'm not learning anything, right? To be frank, and that's not my goal, and that's that's the thing, right? So effort has to be tuned to your level, and and I was talking about the SAT, about how, like, when I was young, and this is American centric, of course, because I think, well, other countries have their own what's it called? Standardized testing, right? But it's like, whether I got a 1500 or 1490, like, it's kind of weird, because, well, when I was younger, like, it felt like such a drastic difference, and your entire world, your entire life changes based on, like, these 10 points or something. But at the end of the day, looking back, no one cares, right? Like, it's about your body of work, and it doesn't matter what your SAT scores are if you didn't do anything during class and all these other things and have good grades and all these other things, right? And it's the same thing everywhere else. And yes, life is not determined by effort necessarily, right? There are some people who are just gifted or whatever, at the higher percentiles. That's going to be a differentiator because we only have X amount of time or whatever. But very few people hit that limit, right? Like, you're limited only by your time more than your genetic ability. I believe, anyway, for most people, right? Like, we're not getting to the point where, like, I am reaching the maximum of all my potential. Now, most people probably could do a little bit better on a lot of things. My point here is, like, the world is not always going to be like, the world is very often results oriented, but to yourself, focusing on what's actionable, focusing on what you can change, which is your training, your effort, your recovery, your eating, your food, your I know they're the same thing, your sleep and all these things. These are things that you can control to a degree. So and as long as you kind of keep going in and keep doing it, I'll be fine. And today's Thursday. I talked about this before. It is the hardest day of my marathon training. Today, for example, I ran 10 miles at the marathon pace and 2 miles on both sides, just like easy recovery and warm up. And I'm not gonna lie, mentally it's tough. Like, and it's a pace that is meant to be tough, obviously, but it's also a pace that I should be able to do. In fact, right, like I'm supposed to be able to do this for 26 miles, not just 10. But doing it every week, like mentally, it's tough getting out the door. And right now it's cold here in New York. Not cold, but cold enough. But at the end of the day, you just have to do it. You're out the door, you do it, and you grind it through. You could do it. You just have to kind of put in the work. And marathon training is a little bit easier in that sense, at least at my level. It's not, and I think in a similar way though, it is the same for Leetcode. Is that when you're like a more of a beginner, or like even like to say like an average level, right, or maybe even a little bit beyond that. Like everything is within your control, right? It's just about how much time you want to spend on it, how much, like, for example, can I run 3 hours and 30 minutes? The answer for this marathon is obviously no, honestly. That's just, it is the way it is, because there's just, maybe if I was younger, and of course there's also the other side of, even if I could do it, it probably might mean that I'll be injured for like two months or something, right? And it's not worth it to kind of get an artificial thing, right? Like it doesn't really, no one cares whether I get it or not. But I do care whether I get injured or not, right? And yeah, but my point is that, can I get 3 hours and 30 minutes? The answer is no, not now. But if it really matters to me, if it's the most important thing in my life, if I feel like it's something I cannot live without, well, I would also say right now that there's nothing limiting about me being able to do that in 2 years, say, right? Yeah, I mean, knock on wood, sometimes life takes a different way, and sometimes you get injured and your timeline, you have to move a little bit, or like, other things in life happens. But my there's nothing genetic about it, right? Like 3 hours and 30 minutes is like an 8 minute pace per mile. Sorry for the people who are not or people who are doing metric, but I'm American. I still talk in miles. I believe that's like 5 minutes a kilometer though, give or take. Maybe I'm wrong on the math anyway. So in any case, but but my point is still that, like I'm able to do it for 1 mile. In fact, I'm able to do it for like 3 or 4 or 5 miles, right? So there's nothing physically limiting. I just have to kind of, in a very deliberate way, make sure that my body builds that adaptation so that I can do it in 2 years, say, if that's what's important to me, right? I think that, to some degree, it's very much the same on Leetcode and code forces and all these things, right? If that's what your goal is, you have to figure out what your goal is, right? If your goal is to get a job, you may not need that rating, right? Like it doesn't matter what your rating is, you just need to do well enough on an interview, and that bar is much lower, right? Than say being a, they call it GM nowadays, I don't know, but like a red rating in one of these things, right? Is it possible for everybody to get a red rating or GM or whatever? I don't know. Maybe pushing a little bit. I mean, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know where the limit is. But I would also say that most people are able to, if they really put in the time and if they have a good plan, and actually not even have a good plan, just like collect all these things, right? Like if you tell yourself, oh, I'm never going to need to learn this, then yeah, of course, you're not going to get it, like if you don't enjoy it, if you don't enjoy the process, if you don't care enough about these things, then yeah, maybe not, right? but there's not that much limiting people mentally about it on at the beginner's level, right? um yeah and and a lot of it, if you find it fun, that's a very easy way to kind of get yourself to keep doing it. But if you don't, some people have a purpose, right? And that's what drives, say, the marathon or Leetcode, right? Like, why are you doing Leetcode is an important question, right? Like, is it to get a job? Well, why do you need a certain job, right? Or a particular job, or even any job of, I don't know, like you want to say like T1 or whatever job, right? Is it because, like you want to take care of your parents, you want to take care of your wife, your husband, your kids, etc., etc.? You want a better life for people whom you care about, whom you love. Those are very good reasons, right? But having that purpose, having these reasons, allow you to keep going. And as simple as that, right? And when you're able to keep going, if you take an extra step a day, if you take 2 extra steps a day, that's 700 steps a year, more or less, right? And that's like half a mile. I don't know. Maybe that math is wrong, but you know what I'm saying either way, right? Like, if you're able to kind of, and the purpose is there for when the things are tough, right? When things are easy, anyone can do the workout when they're easy. They might not want to, they might not need to, but they could do it because it's easy, right? But you need to have purpose when it's hard, because and you have to keep on reminding yourself, what is it that you really want, and why is it relating to Leetcode and how you spend your time. And honestly, it doesn't have to be Leetcode, it doesn't have to be the marathon. I mean, y'all are smart. Y'all know how to kind of, you have to figure out what you want in life. Yeah, and maybe when I was younger, I definitely kind of be like, oh, like, and I'm not gonna lie, just like being honest and real for a second. This is not me now, or this is not me now, but it is just like a younger Larry when I was younger. When I was young and silly, like I thought, I was like, oh, maybe if I did A, B, and C, I would, be happier, or get with more ladies or something. I don't know. Maybe all these things that when you're young, you just influenced by one way or another. And at the end of the day, like, none of it matters as long as it matters to you, right? Like, you're the only person who cares about a lot of these things. Like I don't know. Like, and that's for me with the marathon, right? Going back a little bit. Honestly, I mean, I talk about the marathon a lot just because it's been in my mind. Like, the last 4 months, it's a lot of training, so it's a lot of my mind. And when I do things, I want to do it right. The purpose is my purpose for it. It's a little bit personal to me, so I'm not going to talk about it. At least not today. Maybe afterwards, or in the future, anyway. But also, honestly, like, it's not. It's something that is just for me, right? Like, I don't think I'm going to impress people. Like, or maybe even I do. I don't care if I impress people with like a certain time with a marathon, or even finishing it, or whatever. Whatever people get impressed by, I don't care. That's not why I'm doing it, right? I'm not trying to get like people to like me, or and it's definitely not helping my job or whatever, or my money. Because if anything, I'm just too tired for it. And I don't think it's even going to be like, if I die tomorrow or something. I don't know why I'm talking about that, but if I die tomorrow, it's not going to be my top 10 thing that like I've done in my life. But for now, it's just a challenge. It's just a chewable chunk of what I want to try, and be a little bit healthier, live a little bit longer. Maybe not the marathon part, but at least like cardio part. And at the end of the day, the only person who cares about this is me, and I fully embrace it and understand it, or like care it in a way that only I care about, right? Like but I'm not saying this as in like, hey, this everybody should feel the same way, because some people might look at it as a way of getting disciplined or something like this, right? Or they run for different purposes. for me, like, I never really doubted my discipline, so I don't really find it impressive for myself anyway. Like for other people, for certain people, like certainly, but like for myself, I'm like, like I always done. Honestly, I always feel like I could have done it. So it's not, like not that many things are in doubt. Whether I get the 4-hour limit thing, it's a little bit aggressive, and also some of it's just not inside your. Some of it's just not like, not inside my control, right? Like with a really hot day, there could be accidents, there could be, other things, right? And this is the thing with interview as well, and it's tough to not take it personally sometimes because there is another person involved, which is the interviewer, right? Or interviewers. But honestly, here's a little bit of a mental secret, is that there are a lot of bad interviewers. No, you have to remember a couple of things, right? One is that, okay, maybe managers to some degree for things I won't get into, but a lot of the times, the people you're interviewing with, they're engineers, right? And engineers don't get paid by interviewing. That's not their job. I mean, there are a couple of people who are, like, and I know that there is on some rubric, but the rubric is usually more binary of like, hey, you have to do some interviews. It's never like, Bob is an exceptional interviewer. Like, okay, maybe people would say it, but it never shows up on, like, they never pay you for it. So it's not really like, that important. And as a result, a lot of interviewers are just bad interviewers, right? And, you may get lucky, you may not get lucky, you may get a little unlucky. And sometimes that's the way it is, right? And of course, with more training and stuff, like you're able to control that luck a little bit, right? Like for me, if my if you want to say like if my fitness is such that I can run at 3 hours and 40 minutes, then I have a 20-minute buffer, right? And like even if something happens, in theory, like if I eat up 10 minutes of that buffer, I still have 10 minutes, right? It's the same thing with interview, right? Like if you get good enough that, over the bar enough that, even on like random misunderstandings, you give yourself an opportunity to fix it, that's fine, right? But sometimes that's why, I talk about some of these things. But that said, like I said, you still get bad luck with bad interviewers, bad problems, and all these other things, right? Just a lot of things that happen. I remember reading this thing about judges in the United States, about their tendency is to rule before lunch and after lunch, right? If you remind me, someone on a comment, I'll link a post to it. But like, so so it's the same way. Like sometimes I think like, okay, what if I get an interview before lunch and after lunch, and they just they're because people are hungrier before lunch, and they're just like it affects a lot of things, right? So they're just like so many butterfly effect type things that you just never know, right? Yeah, and I remember I had an interviewer. I was the interviewer once for an interviewee who was like, I was like, hey, everything good? And then he, So I was doing the interview as this time I think I was doing coding. Usually I do architectural interviews, but I think this time they gave me coding for whatever reason. And in the beginning I always ask, hey, is everything good, and all these things. This person was a little bit late. I mean, it's their time. It is what it is. But it turns out that someone ran over the dude's cat in the driveway or something, or outside, or something like this. This was many years ago, so the details isn't that important. But he's like, yeah, sorry I'm late. This happened. I'm like, no, let's not do this interview. Let's just reschedule it. Like, look, we're not gonna I'm not gonna, hold it against you. Just redo it. I mean, this is silly, right? Like, clearly you're not gonna be even close to 100%. And that's the thing, right? Is that sometimes you just have to realize, but that's the thing, is that a lot of people try to grind through these emotional depths and think about that on the side of your interviewers. So there's just a lot of things that are outside your control, but that doesn't mean that you can't keep on trying, and it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you, right? And it's tougher for interviews because it's binary, right? What you're receiving is a binary. Like maybe the bar is 80 points and you got 78 and you don't know it, and it just feels bad. But believe in yourself, believe in your fitness, believe in all the work you put in, and to be frank, if you didn't put in the work, you know that too, right? Like maybe you're hoping to get lucky and you didn't. You knew that too. Like if I was trying to run the marathon and I wasn't even close, then like it's like, yeah, okay, look, I knew I didn't put in the training. Like you gotta be honest with yourself, and you have to figure out how to get to where you want to go, and maybe even at first figure out what it is that you want to go. Okay. Okay, this was a 20 something minute intro, including the outside. But I hope this is kind of like, I don't know if just people will watch this video because it's not in the context of anything, but yeah, those are kind of my thoughts in general. So let's get started at today's file. Yeah, today we have 2044 count number of maximum bitwise-OR subsets. Given an integer array nums, find the maximum possible bitwise-OR of a subset of nums and return the number of different non-empty subsets with the maximum bitwise-OR. An array A is a subset of an array B if A can be obtained from B by deleting some, possibly 0, elements of B. Two subsets are considered different if the indexes of the elements chosen are different. The bitwise-OR of an array A is equal to A sub 0, A sub B, A all the way to the end. Okay, so let's see. Let me get my water real quick. Okay, so it's a subset. I just want to make sure. Okay, so it's not sub. Okay, so it's not sub-array, it's a subset or subsequence, sometimes they say it that way. Okay. I'm trying to do two things. Okay. This one sounds like it should be tricky, but maybe not. Well, what is the maximum bitwise-OR of any subset, right, of this problem? I think that's the first thing you have to figure out. And bitwise-OR is greedy. So, what does that mean, right? Well, the other thing is, okay, n is 16. Okay, fine. I should have looked at constraint first. I was thinking like, okay, maybe there's a non-crazy solution, but I think so. Okay, so the thing with the maximum bitwise-OR is that that's going to be just bitwise-OR of every number, right? Just to kind of start that off. The reason why that is because bitwise is kind of a bitwise-OR is an additive kind of thing, right? Meaning that the more numbers that you get, you will only get monotonically increasing. So if you have all the numbers, well, that's always going to be your maximum possible bitwise-OR. And then now, seeing that n is equal to 16, you don't really have to think that much. I should have looked at it first. Because if n is equal to 16, then you could try every possibility. And you know what you're trying to get to with every possibility. So, that's all there is to it, right? So let's do it this way. You could do it in two ways. One with backtracking, or depth first search, or whatever you want to call it. The other, of course, is with bit mask. But excuse me, both of them are going to be similar, right? So okay, so max is equal to 0, and then now for x and nums, we just bitwise-OR to x, right? So then now this is your number, and then now we also do count is equal to 0. We have a def. Okay, fine. Let's name it slightly better. Today maybe I'm not doing well on this index, and then just the current bitwise, current bits, maybe something like that, right? And then if index is equal to n, then we're done, and then we just return. Otherwise, yeah, otherwise we just go in that +1 current bits and you know, just tick no tick, right? Very basic stuff. You can probably even memorize if you care about it, but with 16 it's really not a big deal either way. Yeah. I kind of, like, the way I wrote this is a little bit funky, but that's fine. I think I forgot to write if current bits is equal to max, then we want to, and you could of course just return, like we can add find it's probably the DP way, right? Like it's not DP but DP above way. So then now you have count equals 0, or maybe even just like this plus the other one. And then actually we could even just return it, right? What am I doing? So that's pretty much it. Unless I misread the problem, which happens a lot for whatever reason. Right. And let's give it a submit. Yeah, I mean apparently I did it 3 years ago, but yeah, 1662 day streak. This is going to be 2 to the n, and that's it really. Plus n if you want to say that here. Very standard brute force problem when it's 16. But you don't even, I mean, I'm trying to look, I'm guessing what all the, I'm trying to see what they could give you as hint. That's not really just give me the answer. And of course they just give you the answer. Yeah, I mean, this part you don't even need it per se. You could also just do this run this twice. I don't, maybe you don't even have to. You could just like do the if statement in a cleaner way, right? And doing one, but yeah, this problem, I don't know. There's so many ways to do this, but similar ways. But yeah, that is all I have for this one. That's all I have for today. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Hope your training keeps going well. Right now, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit heartbroken because the Yankees just lost in a really heartbreaking way. But you know, tomorrow's another day, so we'll see. Stay good, stay healthy, to good mental health. Hit all the buttons. I'll see y'all later and take care. Bye bye.